Hello, this is Orix with Chris Collins. What's your job role, Chris?
I'm the European Community Manager for Bioware.
Okay, what kind of stuff does that job role entail?
So basically right now, as we're in pre-launch, my job primarily involves kind of building the European community team right now to service all our European players, specifically on the German and French side. You know, we've got Tony Marino, who's here on the stand today, and of course Lars Malshrek, who started quite recently.
Right.
We're going to build up all the sort of community level support for all those localized languages and the rest of the European players.
So I guess for this position you must be quite multilingual.
I speak a little bit of German and a little bit of French, but I leave that sort of the spoken word down to my guys. It's just my main sort of role is to interact with the Bioware Austin team, and of course to interact with all the developers across the Bioware sort of studios to make sure that all the information coming from the European player base and to the European player base is getting to the right people.
What went into the decision behind localizing for French and German players specifically?
Well, they're clearly a very strong two very strong territories within Europe, and of course they're some of the biggest player bases within MMOs, so it seemed like kind of a no-brainer.
Okay. Do you think there will be any more kind of future localizations for, say, Spanish players or?
Who knows, post-launch, I mean, anything goes. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into the localization of the Old Republic in particular.
I can imagine.
Because as you've seen today when you played it, there's a lot of spoken words. So unlike a lot of the other MMOs out there, it's just text-based. There's a lot of amounts of work that goes into it. So post-launch, we'll see what the demand is, we'll see what the players want, and who knows?
So, how does the actor base differ between the localized French and German versions and the English version? Are there as many actors for those localizations as there are for the English version?
There definitely are. I mean, we have some big names that I couldn't quote off the top of my head, unfortunately, but a lot of our French player base get excited about. And it's great to work with those guys, and it's great to see them get as excited about the game. And, you know, Star Wars is the same in any language. People love it. And so it's good to work with the talent and to work with the people that we do to bring it to those players.
More on the technical side of things, whereabouts are the servers located for European players?
So we haven't announced those locations right now, and whether we will or not is to be decided until launch for a number of different reasons that I can't go into. But there, you know, we've taken we've looked at lots of different locations, and we're confident that we've made the best decision for the player base.
So how many countries are you supporting by launch?
Oh, don't ask me those sorts of questions.
That's alright.
I couldn't say off the top of my head. There's a large number of European territories and territories around the world. So, for more information, visit StarWarsTheOpera.com.
Let's see. Do you have any other questions?
The sort of staggered pre-launch where you've sort of only give out limited numbers. How are you implementing them across the board? You know, is it like a week before another batch comes in, or a few days before another batch is introduced into Tor?
So the whole question's around sort of like, will our European patches and our US patches be online, be in sync?
Well, no, what I'm meaning is, you said you were delaying the launch for some countries. You know, only a limited amount of players are getting into the game. How are you implementing that? As in, you know, is it a batch of, say, 200 folk coming into the game and then 2 days later another 200, or is it as demand?
No, well, I mean, we haven't really got into that, and we probably won't. But when it comes to the service itself, it's a global service. So everyone that gets the game, pre-orders the game at launch, will get into the game on day one. You know, we're not going to stagger that sort of launch. And when it comes to patches and things like that, it's a global service. So although there may be a few hours difference, maybe a day, it's our target is to get everyone in at the same time, get all those patches up and running as close as possible.
Story?
Oh yeah, we had quite possibly a difficult question. With such focus on story, are you worried that players may be too engrossed in the pillar of story and the other pillars of kind of progression, or maybe crafting might take a back step to story? If players are like forsaking maybe guild activities or crafting activities?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, the story itself, it does take you back, right? When I first played it, you know, I played it a couple of years ago, and it's come a long way since. The developers have done phenomenal things in that time. And the story really does grip you. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a fan of other Bioware titles, you'll just get sucked right in. However, you are still playing an online RPG. You are still playing with your guildies. So I play with a group of my friends here at Bioware, and we still do the same things. We still run flashpoints. When we can do, we still run PvP together. So I think it doesn't necessarily suck you away from anything, but you just learn to really appreciate the story and really appreciate the quality, the amount of time it's going to.
About crafting, how ready is the crafting system going to be for launch? How in-depth is it going to be?
Well, I don't think we've really released too many details, and there's probably a lot that I can't really say right now, but the crafting system that I've used and that I've seen is very fleshed out, and of course we've taken a lot of feedback from the beta players, so who knows?
On the crafting system, I know you can't give too much away about it and everything else, but is it going to be a step beyond from a point of view of, a lot of your traditional MMO crafting systems, put the items in a slot, press a button, create 75 of these, go on to the next level, put some more stuff in, create another 75 of this bolt, or are you actually trying to go beyond that and put a degree of skill, make it more of a mini game? Where are you actually thinking about going with it?
I mean, we've been taking a lot of feedback from the players during beta, so there's a bit of flux going on right there, I would imagine. It's not really a question for me, it's probably more of a question for one of the developers. However, again, in the future we'll be going into a lot more detail, no doubt, as we move closer to launch. So just keep an eye out on Star Wars, they'll come
About the system surrounding endgame content and PvP. Do you have a system that allows you to PvP against, say, guilds of opposite factions or players of opposite factions in particular, no matter which planet they might be on at that time? So
again, I don't believe so by launch, but it may be something that appears in the future, off the top of my head. However, that's just based on the information that I have, so probably not the best person to answer that.
Okay, yeah, I guess it might be beyond your scope. What kind of impressions have you received from the European community so far? I mean, what?
As in those that have played it here today?
Compared to the American kind of community, what's the feeling around the European communities from events such as Gamecom and this one today?
I mean, it's been fantastic. We have, I haven't run myself many of the American events, maybe Stephen can tell you more on the American side of things, but I think the European players, here, I was here today and this week at Earl's Court to do Eurogamer, and I was down in Birmingham last week, or up in Birmingham I should say, to do Game Fest. And I just love the fact that people react so well. I mean, one of my favourite moments was one last week where there was a girlfriend of a particular player. He was extremely excited to be there, right? His girlfriend couldn't have looked any more sour-faced. However, we convinced her to have a go, right? She just wanted to have a go, played a bit of a consular, and she loved it. It was hard to drag her away by the end of it, and seeing players react, people react in that sort of way, it reminds you of what you're working with and what sort of game Star Wars really is. It does suck you in. It does hit players of all different demographics.
Do you have any more questions?
Currently targeting holiday 2011.
Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.
Okay.